actually really hard to do this game fast. So there's one.
All right, everybody, thank you for sticking around. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are back. Not only are we back, but we have Tempest Mask with us with Dragon Ball Evolution. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it right off to you, Tempest. Good luck, have fun.
Thank you, Mirne, and hello, my friends and fellow gamers. I'm TempestMask1000, and for those that know me, you usually see me play more platformer-like games, you know, action platformers, jump and shoots like Mega Man, but this is a fighting game speedrun, and this is Dragon Ball Evolution, which, true to the name, is indeed a video game adaptation of the live-action film infamously known for having just bungled things up in terms of trying to be just an entertaining sort of adaptation, and even at that. I've seen the film; it's not all that bad, but the game is a very interesting case. It came out at least a month before the movie launched, and it's for this reason too that it has a few interesting things about the story mode, which I'll be presenting to you all today, that if you were to read the dialogue, you'd notice some really funny stuff being said by some of the characters. Overall, though, things are about to get interesting, if I do say so myself. And so I'm going to be running any percent story. This is probably the most basic category you can get. You just start a new file, and then you just start the story, and that's when time will begin. This is basically a Dragon Ball Z Budokai game. In fact, it was the last of which three released for the PSP. And so, yeah, that's just basically the general gist of it. We're going to get right to it, and we'll start the clock in 5, 4... Oh, wait, hang on. Let me get to the main menu. I thought that the menu was going to load much faster. All right, one sec. Come on. By the way, I am, as you can see right here, I will be running off of official hardware, so that you know. All right, we'll do this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with a Dragon Ball Z Budokai game, how it works is that it plays out similarly to a Tekken title, where, I mean, knock on wood, this was published by Bandai Namco, but it was developed by Dimps, the longtime folks behind the Budokai games and also the more recent Xenoverse games, as well as other stuff like Dragon Ball Z The Breakers, if I'm not mistaken, or Dragon Ball The Breakers. But in any case, the game plays out where, like in Tekken, you have arena combat, and the idea is you can just jump in and out of the background to do some like advanced dodging if you need to. Other than that, though, it's not going to feature as many combos as you would if you were to check out your move list, so that's good at least. Otherwise, you have your energy gauge at the bottom corners, you have your health gauge at the top. The general gist of the fight, like any other fighting game, is to knock your opponent down and just beat them like so. And so what you're going to be seeing me do whenever I play as Goku here is I'm going to be using his Spirit Cannon move quite a bit because it's actually a very good damaging source. It deals at least around, I want to say, the 400s to 500s range, and it's an overall good move to use because it can also hit any foe that's in front of me or behind me. It's very much like what you saw in the anime, if you remember that one moment where Goku used it against Berter and Jace of the Ginyu Force in the Namek Saga. I'll say right now that any character, or just about most characters anyway, will have some sort of super move that directly adapts from a previous Budokai game. In fact, I'm pretty certain that just about every single super move or ultimate move within the game did have some sort of a previous adaptation in a prior Budokai game of sorts. I can't say, though, for the Mafuba, which we'll get into what that means when I get to play as Master Roshi. For now, I have a couple of stages as Gohan. Funny how we just started off as Goku, but now I gotta play as Gohan. But yeah, this is where in the story Goku is at Chi-Chi's birthday party, he's trying to bond with her, so to speak, and meanwhile Gohan is at home and is suddenly getting attacked by Mai and Piccolo, who are after the Dragon Balls, and now it's up to me to try and fight them back. Now, of course, as it would with any Dragon Ball story. Spoiler alert, though. Unfortunately, Grandpa Gohan does die. And so that's very much going to be the case here, but it doesn't really matter all that much. It's just a matter of us trying to beat opponents anyway, because the game doesn't want us to lose. This is a Dragon Ball game. You want to feel victorious even when you're not supposed to be. But yeah. This game is kind of interesting too, though. It has a couple of differences between your typical Budokai game, and that this is actually running off the Shin Budokai engine, which gives it a few extra qualities as compared to traditional Budokai gameplay, where you can charge your energy, but you also have the right shoulder button acting as an aura burst, which lets you do some extra stuff. For instance, you can hold the guard. You can hold that button and then press guard to do an aura burst guard, which gives you like a brief sort of invincibility period, if you will. And then it does expend a little bit of energy, but it also allows you to get in some really fast movement, like the fast dashes you might have seen me do from Jump. Other than that, though, there's also a mechanic called Full Burst, where if I need to get my key bars immediately filled up as soon as possible, I will do just that. And that's by pressing the R shoulder button and then L. So basically both shoulder buttons at the same time, although I don't necessarily think that's exactly how you do, but yeah. So now we're fighting Bulma. She's a bit of an interesting character in that while this is the only time we fight against her, she can use her guns against me and I can get caught in a pretty nasty attack that way, but she also has a capsule drop move, you know, similar to the Hoi Poi capsules or Dynacaps, if you were familiar with the dub. Yeah, there's that gun attack. But yeah, she can use the capsule attack, and if I just stay where I am, I could either get slammed by a bike, or, as I just discovered recently, there's a chance you could just get hit by a teddy bear and you're not really harmed at all. It's kind of funny that way. It's kind of like Delibird's presence attack in the Pokemon series. But yeah, moving on, we're back to Goku, and we will be continuing to face people as Goku for quite a while. This is basically Goku Time the Run, but it's not Dragon Ball GT, which, by the way, I do respect GT. Let's just get that out of the way, but yeah. And so we're going to fight Master Roshi now, and as I mentioned, I will play as him a little later on. But for the formalities of the story, we are supposed to be finding him. He is supposed to tell us more lore about who Piccolo is and just the legend of the Dragon Balls, and you know, he's supposed to train us as well, because with Gohan dead, I mean, who else is supposed to at this point? Roshi is, like in the original canon of Dragon Ball, the teacher of Gohan, but it was always kind of funky how they got Xiao Yan Fat, a great actor, to play the role, and yet they did not make him look anywhere as old as the original character is, which is weird, because Gohan sure as heck looks like an old man in this, but not Roshi. So who knows what the heck they were thinking there. Although, fun fact, his teacher in this canon is not Master Mutaito, but rather Sifu Norris, who is played by, I believe the actor's name was Ernie Hudson, who you might recognize from Ghostbusters. Really cool dude. Alright, we'll continue on, and it's at this point that we are now being brought up with Chi-Chi. Now, Chi-Chi being a fightable character, or playable character for that matter, is very much a rarity in itself. But I think this Chi-Chi is not all that Chi-Chi as I would necessarily remember. I think the one game that I really try to think more of when it comes to this character is, what was it, Super Dragon Ball Z? Which, I gotta look into that sometime. I always thought that was kind of a cool game. But that's neither here nor there. Alright, so there's not really much else to explain at the moment, although she is walloping me with a combo. I want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Okay. Oh yeah, that's an interesting attack. I'm pretty sure that knee thrust attack is something that does not have a Budokai counterpart at all. By the way, you might be wondering why I'm not using an ultimate attack. It's because Goku actually doesn't have one yet. When you start the story from a fresh beginning, the idea is that he's not supposed to have his ultimate move until a certain point in the story where he then gets it, which is the signature Kamehameha wave. So it is well worth mentioning that the Ki Blast button in this game does not do Ki Blasts. Rather, the only purpose it serves is to activate special moves. And so, well, what can I say except... yeah, you have your neutral special moves, your forward-facing special moves, and your back-facing special moves. And then there's the ultimate move, which you hold up and press the special button to use. Here we got Yamcha. I really wish this character knew how to fight, whereas in the movie, like, not at all, man. And that's just unfortunate, because Yamcha is supposed to be a desert bandit in the original canon, which is kind of what's going on here. It's just that his moveset utilizes a drill, what you saw it right there. It's what he uses in order to dig their way into a cave in order to find the next Dragon Ball after this battle. But, I mean, he's just mostly there, but also to serve as a love interest to Bulma, which... I mean, hey, that was kind of the deal in the original Dragon Ball. I mean, Yamcha did kind of date her before Vegeta even came into the picture. So, hey, it is what it is there. But yeah. Now, one downside of me playing on original hardware, even though it is my preferred choice, is that the game does have a little longer load times. Obviously, most runners who have played this game and have tried to get a super fast time would normally do this via something like emulation. I'm sure that if I were to get a digital version of the game, which I'm actually also playing on UMD or physical disc for the PSP, is that it would definitely decrease the load times. But admittedly, when I finally picked up my own PSP, the store was already down, and the only way you can really download games to a PSP digitally is if it just so happened to also make the transition over to the Vita. So the Vita store still exists to this day, thank goodness, and you can legitimately buy games through that if you so choose. The only thing is that not all games made that, and so this was indeed one of them. But here we are facing the Fulum. This is an original character through the film, where instead of King Piccolo's mutated Namekian children, such as cymbal, drum, tambourine, all them, oh yeah, and piano, the pterodactyl guy, which I always remembered because I grew up with OG Dragon Ball. Instead of that, we had to fight one of those guys, and they're regenerators, which, you know, not unlike Namekians in the actual canon, but, you know, it is what it is. Those guys were kind of weird. But the fun thing, too, is that... Oh, and we did just unlock Kamehameha now, so now I can use that. I'll explain that in a bit, excuse me. But the funny thing about the Fulum moveset is that, yeah, it's basically taking after Janemba, which, yeah, I mean... Pulling out a sword from your butt is definitely Janemba, as far as I can tell. It just took DB Cade telling me that in order for me to actually realize it. But shout out to DB. I did earlier host his Castlevania Judgment run, and he's just such a cool dude. It's actually through him having ran this game that I decided to give this a shot, and I just kind of have an eye for these obscure games overall. Oh, come on, Chi-Chi, please down your thank you. So that's actually my disguised as Chi-Chi. The funny thing about this game is that, like with the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai, there are missing story chapters that you can only gain access to after you've beaten the game as it is. And so you would normally see that in a New Game Plus story or New Game Plus run or whatever, which is just basically us finishing the initial story run and then going into things, but it also features a couple of secret missions that are unlockable as well. I will eventually get to that because I am very interested to just see what it feels like just to do that and stuff. But now we gotta fight Chi-Chi again, and this is the real one, which means, yeah, it's at least 3 times that I gotta fight Chi-Chi overall, and these two are back-to-back. But if you think that's odd enough, well, Piccolo, you fight him at least 4 times, and yes, that does include Gohan. But anyway, I'm gonna. She wants to whoop me with some kicks. I'm just gonna. Oh no, she warped. Okay, yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna full burst here. There we go. So, full burst. I have maximum ki until that bar goes down. If I use my ultimate skill, that automatically drains it, though. So I will use it when it gets low. Don't warp, please. There we go. Okay, so I gotta be careful, though, when you try to use any ki expending attacks or maneuvers while you're at 0. Now she's gonna do it. Then, yeah, it's gonna put you in a fatigued state, and that's never good. You lose control of your character, and now she's gonna use her ultimate attack. Oh no, I could actually lose that. Yep! Well, oh well, that's no big deal. I'm gonna try that again. Of course, just like with the the games themselves, you can try as many times as you like, but that was a little unfortunate, and yeah, that's gonna be some obvious time loss. I have never really seen her use that ultimate attack, so needless to say, that's never happened before. But yeah, there's always some kind of moment with me saying that phrase that we all love and meme on at some point or another. It's always bound to happen. Yeah. Also, shout out to Mick Nuggets, who is currently in chat, part of the greater anime speedruns community, and also a Dragon Ball runner like myself. So, we have beaten Chi-Chi with the Kamehameha. Unfortunately, I gotta skip the little in-game engine cutscene of Yamcha's truck going into its hover mode like in the film. But yeah, you know, it do be like that. Cutscenes are very unnecessary, and there's not a whole lot of them, but at least I will get to show off one once we finish the final fight of this particular run. The Kamehameha move, though, does have a 2-stage thing where I do need 5 bars of ki in order to use it, but then I could do a 2nd stage attack, which is indeed what I did, like both times I've used it so far. The idea behind that is I need half a bar of ki extra alongside the mandatory cost, if you will. And what that really does is just adds a bit more damage, but CPUs are more than likely to do that little warp maneuver whenever I do attempt to use that. So here's our next fight with Piccolo. I did not use the 2nd stage for some reason. I guess I just waited a little too long to use it, but that's okay. I'll just blast cannon. I'll go into full burst for some extra safety here. And there we go. You noticed, by the way, that whenever a character is in red health, which is like your health is not down, it is technically down, but it can still slowly recover, the game still counts them as alive, meaning you still have to hit them one more time in order for the KO to register. But aside from that, we are now moving into the aforementioned Master Roshi stage. Now, this fight has a unique case where I have to beat Piccolo using Roshi's ultimate move, the Mafuba. And if I do happen to kill him beforehand, that will count as an automatic loss. So I do not want that to happen. Alright. Let's see if I can just get some good hits on him and stuff. But I'm going to pass it on over to you, Mirne, if you got any announcements, incentives, or donations to plug.
Of course, you know, I love talking about our charity. Just to remind everybody that we are raising money for To Right Love on Her Arms. To Right Love on Her Arms is a non-profit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. To Right Love on Her Arms exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and invest directly into treatment and recovery. So it is a phenomenal cause, and we appreciate everybody who not only has donated, but just being here, bringing visibility to such a wonderful cause. Exclamation point D or exclamation point donate to get that Tiltify link, and we appreciate everybody being here.
Absolutely, and perfect timing too to end that one. We got the move, we got the hit, and we are good to proceed on. Unfortunately, Roshi also dies because, you know, this movie tried to echo the whole King Piccolo saga into a condensed runtime, and you know what? Yeah. Oh boy. It is worth... That is a good point, though, Bakuman. So, Tien normally... Tien would have tried to use the Mafuba himself, but, yeah, no, he's not even involved in this story. Neither is Krillin or Puar, which is supposed to be the buddy to Yamcha. She's the flying cat that can transform. Oolong's not here either. I guess they just wanted it to be as realistic as possible, so they completely removed any animal buddies, which I can also imagine is why Shu from the Pilaf gang does not accompany Maya, but neither does Pilaf. And that's just unfortunate. I mean, the Pilaf gang, you know, they are annoying because they are the reason for starting some bigger shiz while trying to be the big baddies themselves, only to fail for one reason or another. And yet, this Mai just feels soulless. But yeah, I just fought myself. This is not a Persona game, I promise, even though there are a couple of Persona games for PSP. I do intend on looking into those, by the way. I've heard nothing but interesting things about those. But alas, we are moving on to our final showdowns with Piccolo, and I say that in the plural sense because I gotta fight him twice for some reason. But we beat Ozaru, which, if you're familiar with the original lore, that's supposed to be a Saiyan transformation when they have a tail and they look into the full moon. It's like a giant monkey werewolf, basically, if you're unfamiliar with that. Look it up. It's a pretty iconic transformation when it comes to classic Dragon Ball and all that stuff. But Ozaru, yeah, it's just, you know, Goku being apparently the sidekick, the partner of destruction to Piccolo here. In this game, he also just calls him Kakarot and calls him a Saiyan, which, yeah, that's Dragon Ball lore, alright, but that's not in the original movie of Dragon Ball Evolution at all. This game took a few liberties, just some of the funny stuff that I mentioned before starting the run, but yeah, this is not... Yeah, that I-beam attack from Piccolo is never fun to handle. So, I did take a lot of health out of me, but I can just full burst my way in and hopefully... Oh, hell that thought. Please. Thank you. Whew! Alright, just one more fight. And then we are donezo with the run. And that will be, again, a Piccolo fight. So let's get into it. And time will be on the final hit. I hope you all have been enjoying this little showcase, though. I've always wanted to run this for Horrible Games just because I know we all... or maybe most of us anyway. I'm sure there are some people that enjoyed Evolution for what it was, but I know a lot of people that really cared about the series was not happy about the movie, and I know the director eventually apologized for it too. It's a shame. You would think that maybe Dragon Ball Evolution could have been something, decent, something mid, but at the end of the day, it was, for a time, the infamously talked about thing, but also, ironically, probably the one thing that actually convinced Akira Toriyama, series creator, to actually bring back Dragon Ball. Which I'm grateful for, and yet also not grateful for at the same time. I mean, we got the banger Battle of Gods movie out of the deal, but then we also got Dragon Ball Super, and that took a little bit of adjusting to get used to it. And it's quirks, but hey, Dragon Ball Super has gotten better over time. No questions asked. Alright, come on, buddy. Just go down. Accept your defeat. Like, oh, he interrupted that. Oh, that's not fun. Yeah, okay. If it wasn't obvious, his AI is obviously being a little more aggressive to show that he's being all serious and whatnot. And yeah, that's another loss. But that's okay. I can still very much keep this underestimate. It's no big deal, for the most part anyway. Alright, buddy. I need you to please work with me here. That's all I'm asking for. I would like to plug right now, though, that if you guys are interested in running any sort of anime speed game, then I highly encourage considering joining the Anime Speedrun Community Discord, where we welcome all runners, regardless of what series you're doing. We very much appreciate new faces or just people to talk with, and we also like to just hang casually too. So it's not all that serious of a server. We also hold some events of our own catering to these anime games, and so we will eventually be having our One Piece event. I do believe submissions might still be... Wait, hang on. Come on. And... time. 23:23:87. It's not a PB, but it's still keeping it underestimate, which I'm always happy for. Alright, but yeah, as I was going to say, we do hold... I do believe submissions for our One Piece speedrun event is still very much open. It could be, but I do believe it's soon going to close. So if you do happen to run a One Piece game, feel free to consider applying for that. And of course, yeah, just again, you can find our Anime Speedrun Discord link on any associated game on speedrun.com. Big shout out to everyone that has run this game and has set the stage before myself. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even thought that, hey, there is actually some merit in trying to do this game fast. And you know what? I will say it, shout out to Dimps for making this game. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, it's just a weird one at best. With that said, though, if you'd like to follow me, I'm TempestMask1000 here on Twitch and on YouTube. And I also got a Twitter at It'sTempestSteve if you want to catch my stream updates, since I do not have a static streaming schedule. I will supposedly be back a little later on to do some hosting, but other than that, yeah, we still got quite a few runs. In fact, we are coming up on Nerd Squared, which is going to be interesting. We got a big nerd block going on, so good luck to you, good sir. And with that, that's all for me. So until next time, ciao, Michi.
All right, thank you so much for Tempest for that awesome run. And yeah, we're going to be back with Nerd Squared with The Complex found footage. Also, we're going to be switching out hosts, so unfortunately, this is going to be the end of my time with y'all, but don't worry, I will be around in chat. And you will also have the wonderful Playful when we come back. Alright, just stick around, get hydrated, maybe take a quick stretch, and we'll be right back.
To win it that way too. We're also going to be giving away Close to the Sun, which is another